Alrighty, folks, we spent a lot of time with Mike, the CEO of Retometer, talking about how to find deals, how to use that metal detector to find gold. But now we're going to talk about, you know what? You found something. How do you now set the rents? Mike, I appreciate you coming back every other week to talk about what you're doing at Retometer. What do you think about when you think about setting rents?
It's funny because we spend a lot of time talking about finding and analyzing deals, but probably the most common usage for our product, Rentometer, is setting rents. And
Makes sense.
you know, uh, there is no silver bullet like anything, right? When it comes to setting rents, the advice I give to people, the keys I think are, having a good understanding of your own property and the market that you're in. And I'm not talking very specific factors like finishings and stuff like that, but generally, do I have the best property? Do I have the worst property? Do I have an average property? And so where do you sit in the market? The other piece that's really important is, what is your strategy? Are you trying to maximize income, top line income, or are you trying to balance maybe a little bit of retention with a fair rent, but
Mhm.
also giving a little bit away because it'll come back in a retention way? I think there's more of that going on right now, by the way, because of softening rents and things like that. And then the third piece is, what's the data telling me? You know, what where does my property fit when you tie it to the data? That's why it's important to understand your property and your strategy, because when you look at the data, it's going to tell you some different things. It's going to tell you, the best are renting at this, the worst are renting at this, and the average are renting here. And so you want to be able to put yourself on that spectrum. I think the more localized you can get, like within a half a mile, 2 miles. I mean, it depends on the market, but in a lot of markets, you can get half a mile to mile. Sometimes you have to go up to 2 or 3 to get enough comps. But and then the building type and the floor plan, as we've discussed, there's a big difference between a strictly one bathroom versus one and a half or more bathrooms. There's a material price difference there. Try and get that information also. So
Yeah.
that's generally how we come at it.
Yeah, when I think about setting rents, I really break it down. One is even in the deal evaluation, because again, if you're following what I talk about, trying to figure out cash on cash or what I call yield, one of the most important numbers is rent. And I've seen plenty of people get too aggressive when setting rent in the spreadsheet, and it creates an artificially high number. For example, you say 1750, and you're really only going to get 1650. So you just lost $100, which is definitely going to hit the yield or cash on cash. So I go back to the very beginning when putting a deal together. I always want to be conservative. So, if rent is, 1500 or more, I might knock it down $100 just to be ultra conservative. And then if it's less than $1,500, I might drop it $50,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure. But now when I have a unit, it's kind of in my portfolio, I think of setting rents really kind of differently for houses versus apartments. So we'll do houses first, right? Single family homes. Why? Because turnover is a lot less in a house than apartments. My average home is 8 years, 8.1 years. Average apartment is less than 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm setting rents on a house, especially if it's vacant and just turned, I'm going for the peak of the market. I will wait 3 weeks to fill it, to get the right person
Yeah.
in there, because what I will do from there is I will not raise it. I will not continually raise it to market, because I don't want them to have any reason to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
I won't force that. So I generally am doing smaller increments, if any at all, in a house, because I want them there for at least 8 years, because turnover costs are so big in a house.
Right.
Now, in an apartment, especially today, apartment competition is fierce. Apartment rents are down. The average apartment rent today is giving away 5 weeks of free rent.
Mm-hmm.
So I am definitely not being aggressive on prices or rents for my apartments. I'm going probably 5 to 10% below market, but I'm not sacrificing quality.
Yep.
right? I'm keeping my standards high. Again, a vacant unit is better than a bad tenant. And then the same thing with apartments is I'm not going to push rents all the time because I don't want to give them a reason to leave. So, those are my first thoughts when I think about rents.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, that's like really good practical insights. And part of what we try and do is give you, the person setting the rent, the confidence that you do have the right numbers, right? And that confidence really helps because it helps you defend your decision,
Mhm.
and kind of separates you from it a little bit too.
Yes.
So when you're talking with one of your prospective or current tenants, you can say, "Look, this is my process.
Mhm.
This is the data. This is what the data is telling me, and this is why it is what it is." And
Mhm.
always good conversations, but if you can diffuse some of the emotion and the stress, I think
Yeah.
it's really helpful.
And then on a house, I want to even double click on that. You talked about bathrooms, but when I look at my houses, I think of these variables first: number of bedrooms,
Hmm.
number of bathrooms,
Hmm.
parking, and then a secure or fenced backyard and possibly front yard,
Hmm.
right? Because again, um, these are all things that renters will want and they will want to keep, right? Bedrooms and bathrooms make complete sense. Parking is not really thought about, right? Is it garage? Is it carport? Is it street? Is it driveway? But also, people forget fenced backyards. People in houses have dogs, have pets, have kids. Is the backyard fenced and secured? Is the front yard fenced and secured? Right? These are all things that don't typically show up, but frankly, a well fenced front and backyard might get me an extra $50,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? It's just, and more importantly, it's going to keep that family there as long as the kids are little.
Hmm.
Because again, that's a value to the parents. So again, there are things that, some subtle things when setting rents beyond just bathrooms and bedrooms.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the other principles, like once you have the process defined and your sources and how you go about it, it's repeatable, right?
Yes.
And I know that's a big theme for you, which is like keep things simple
Yeah.
and keep them repeatable.
Yes,
You
sir.
don't want to reinvent the wheel every time.
Amen. No, that's absolutely right. And again, these are things that you will build up over time. It's why I generally tell people to pick one buy box in one market, because it just takes time to learn the rhythm for the market, which not only includes what's selling, but also what it's rent for, where's turnover, who are the who are the painters and the electricians. There's this whole network effect that you get by being singularly focused on a buy box, on a city, on a part of town that
Mhm.
I think a lot of people miss.
Yeah, and that speaks to the confidence factor. I was watching a Warren Buffett replay of one of his talks, and those are always full of
Love
nuggets.
Uncle Warren.
Yeah, but one of his is that I don't he doesn't invest in anything he doesn't know, and it's got to
Yes.
be simple. Like if I can't do it on the back of an envelope in an hour,
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with it. And that's the buy box concept, right? That's
Uh,
it's
could,
what I
couldn't agree
know
more.
and it's
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
So
No, I think there's, again, I take comfort, with Warren's, I've read his books. I think the best book is the unabridged biography. The American Capitalist, I think was the title. I read that
yep.
20 years ago. I've read it several times. Um, but yeah, and that in Dave Ramsey, the fact that Dave Ramsey has been repeating his baby steps for 40 years gives me comfort that I can say buy box for 40 years and not feel repetition. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to keep saying daily discipline, focus, buy box, and
Yeah.
people will eventually get it.
Yeah. And I think the other factor is like resources that you use to stay up on your market. Of
Oh,
course,
of
use
course.
Rentometer.
Yes.
We have tens of thousands of customers that use it for setting rents. But also, the two things that we always recommend: talk to local experts, because they really have their finger on the pulse. And then
Yes.
the other one that surprises people sometimes is definitely look at other data sources, because triangulation is really important. I mean, we consider ourselves like a book of record or a source of truth. If you're hearing information from other people, just check it against what we have.
Yeah.
And, now you can validate against different sources. And that just, again, increases your confidence in your process.
I'll double click on that because again, I've seen lots of people fall for this. Unfortunately, you'll have a real estate agent, maybe even a property manager in some far off land, tell you what they think they can get for a rental, and they say it with confidence. And frankly, you don't know any different. You don't know to question it. I would take all of those conversations, pull up Rentometer, and just double click because again, if you're off by $100, that could turn a great deal into a bad deal really, really quickly. And especially if you've got to give up credit quality and you're going to give up, a month's rent. And, once they got you on the hook, you're caught. So again, folks, definitely double check.
There was a DSR lender that talked to us, and they missed on the initial rent. They by 40%.
Oh,
At least 40%.
that's
So
not good.
they underwrote, and I just said, "What's the address?" And I knew within 3 seconds that there was no chance they were going to get the rent. Not even 3 seconds. I knew very
Damn.
quickly.
Yeah.
Now, you can quibble with the refining the answer,
Sure.
right? The number, because you have to apply those other factors. You're not going to be in the middle or at either end of the spectrum. There's always that gray, like,
Yeah.
well, I'm really strong on this. I'm not strong on this. So you really have to apply that. But we can get you really close to the ballpark. And
No, I think, I think Rentometer is that, I know what you call it, double check. It's the tutor. It's the helper. Again, it's that filter or friend that you go, hey, so-and-so said this. Are they close? And it helps you validate who's telling you the truth and who's maybe telling you a story. So I like having that backup.
It's funny. I said to somebody today, I said, we were the AI before AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just put an address in and we'll tell you everything we know about it, right?
There you go.
Everything around it. And that's kind of how people use AI now. It's like,
Yeah.
let me put something in and see what it tells me. So
that's it. Rentometer is the first AI platform, the first LLMN or whatever the hell they call it.
Before
Large language model, LLM. Yeah. Very, very crazy. Well, Mike, you guys are doing amazing work at Rentometer. If somebody wanted to go check it out, where should we send them?
Rentometer.com.
There you go, folks. Very simple. Rentometer.com. Have a great day, Mike.
Thank you.